All right, we are live. And just to let you know, while we do our little introduction and that, feel free to have fun playing a little bit of Wordle there. Instructions are on the board. You can guess as many times as you want. Just something fun to do while we all talk and keep up the audience engagement. So, Boston, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm okay.
Are you excited about today?
I'm very excited about yes. Tonight, I'm very excited about tonight.
Yeah.
These
We
two
have
of my favorite people.
two awesome people. Uh each half of Get Haunted, the owners. And I think they are backstage. We should just bring them up right now. We have Rob and Sarah. What is up?
Yay!
I
Hi.
have a problem with Rob coming up first because it's girls versus boys.
That's true.
So I'm
Well,
just saying.
Yeah.
We're winners versus losers.
We're gonna have a live on air fight tonight.
Okay,
so
let's do it. Let's fight.
just get it out of the way.
So we got a lot of people in chat today. We got Kyle, Danny, Heather, Quimby, Empty Caskets. Who else do we got? I saw a few other names.
Lori, Andrea,
Heather.
Heather.
R. Palmer, Heather. Oh, it's just Heather. Sorry. Sometimes I didn't mean it like that. Sometimes it's Heather. Haunted Faith. Hi, welcome.
So yeah, thanks everybody for coming out and checking us out. And we are here with Get Haunted and also Paranormally Blonde in there too. And we can't wait to talk. We have a bunch of evidence layer to talk about, some upcoming events that Get Haunted will be hosting, and I can't wait to hear more and more about it. So Boston, I know you had some questions for our guest. Or are we doing do we want to do the other thing first?
What other? Let's do the thing.
Do the thing?
Uh-oh.
The one thing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me
Okay.
Why am I scared?
So
Oh.
you guys said just a minute ago that you want to fight, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So this
You didn't
isn't
say
exactly a fight. This is more of a challenge.
Okay.
And I think it's a great icebreaker and a good way to kind of start things rolling.
Okay.
And a quick and easy way to get to know who you are. Who is Rob? Who is Sarah? Right? Because we're going to talk a lot more about what is Get Haunted, who is Get Haunted. We're going to talk about Paranormally Blonde, but who's Sarah? Who is Rob? I think I'll start off, Chris, and you can time me, but don't time. So here's the rules, basically. I'm going to start off. I'm going to interview Rob. Chris is going to interview Sarah when we're done. Here's the rules. There aren't any. You have 2 minutes to answer as many questions as you can. Okay? So that means fast thinking and just give us your answers.
God.
Whoever can answer the most questions within their 2-minute time period wins, or if you can, whoever answers faster than the other one. So Chris is going to time Rob and I, and then I'm going to time Sarah and Chris. Nice thing about this is that the questions aren't the same, so Sarah doesn't get an advantage.
Yeah, that was my question because it would be incredibly unfair.
Nope, they're not the same. So
Okay.
and these are we thought really hard and long about some of these. Are some very deep questions, so it's going to be hard to answer quickly, but do your best. Okay.
These are questions about ourselves.
Yes.
We're just gonna rattle stuff off. Okay.
Oh God.
All
Okay.
right.
So you let me know when you're ready, Chris.
Go. Timer
All right.
started.
Rob, what sound does a seal make?
Barks.
Do you have any friends taller than 6'4"?
Yes.
If there's a spider in your house, do you kill it or set it free?
Kill it.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark.
Say something cool.
Yo.
If you were given the opportunity to fly into space, given today's technology, would you take it?
Yes.
When was the last time you stayed up past 4 a.m?
Last month.
What's the lamest dessert that people try to pass off as a dessert?
Oh God. Jeez. Salad.
Do you believe Bigfoot is real?
No.
Are tomatoes a fruit or a vegetable?
Vegetable.
Do ghosts haunt people or places?
What? Say that again.
Ghosts haunt people or places?
Both.
Sour Patch Kids or Swedish Fish?
Swedish Fish.
What temperature do you like your thermostat at?
69.
Which animal adds more joy to the world? Squirrels or llamas?
Squirrels.
If you were to vote the rest of your life to philanthropy, what cause would you choose?
Helping kids.
When you fly in a plane, do you wear a neck pillow?
I used to.
Who inspires you?
Time.
Sarah.
Oh,
Oh, we're going to take that as an answer. Rob got
Thank you.
16. Yep. All right.
Dang.
God,
Good
just-
job.
Can I just preference, Chris? I have a horrible memory, so
So
I'm not gonna-
I mean, I'm going to just ask the question right there.
Oh.
I mean, you don't got to remember what you.
Well,
Right?
I'm saying I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be-
Rob did really good. So
Yeah.
so it's there's no wrong or right answer here.
Yeah, because he answered them all wrong.
Just the last one.
All right. So
Oh, okay,
let's
hold
get-
on.
we're going to get this timer going here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was stressful. Sarah, this is hard.
Yeah, it
It's
is. I feel
Get
it.
the blood pumping.
I almost
Okay.
don't like being second. I know that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Timer is going.
2 minutes.
Sarah, texting or talking?
Texting
Favorite day of the week?
Wednesday.
What would you rather be able to do? Speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Talk to animals.
If you could speak to your spirit or speak to a spirit of anyone who has passed, who would it be?
Oh my God, I don't know. Buddha, the original Buddha.
Favorite holiday?
Oh gosh, I don't even have one. Christmas.
Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a driver are you?
Oh, 9.5. Shut up, Rob.
What would a good spy code name be?
For me, I don't know. I don't pass. I don't know.
Fill in the blank. Ghost are blank.
Cool.
Invisibility or super strength?
Invisibility.
Favorite color?
Green.
Dusk or dawn?
Dusk.
If you were to travel back in time, what period would you go to?
20s.
Favorite childhood TV show?
Oh, Brady Bunch.
Favorite season?
So, spring, actually.
Last Halloween costume?
Oh. At Zach Bagans.
Cake or pie?
Oh, cake.
Do you believe in fate?
Yes.
Favorite number?
4.
What does a person need to be happy?
Just to be grateful.
Okay. And time is going to be up before I would finish.
I
How
think
many?
I lied about some of those, by the way. Spring isn't my favorite season.
Well, I mean,
And Christmas isn't my favorite holiday.
But you were good on your feet. You had to come up with an answer, right? So
I mean, yeah, it depends. I mean, my favorite season, that depends where I'm at in the United States, right? Like Michigan spring kind of blows.
I'm
So
really sad
Boston.
we didn't get to a few of those. Yeah.
How many was that?
Oh, was I supposed to be counting? Hold on. 1, 2, 3.
I got 17 because we skipped one. Rob had like 20,
19.
pretty sure.
Wait, Rob, I'm curious. What would my spy name be?
Agent 5. No, it should be Agent 4.
Actually, it would just be typo.
Or typo.
Typo.
Yeah.
Agent
That's
typo.
a good one.
Yeah.
One of these was make us. I was really hoping Rob would have shown me what a seal sounds like instead of just says barks.
Well,
I threw him off. I watched him.
No.
One of these was make a high pitched sound. And you were doing that before we even started.
I was, but I didn't know I had to do it live.
There we go, guys versus boys.
Good job. So Rob won by 1 point.
Like by 50
To be
points.
fair, I feel like I was
believe it was
asking
50
the questions
points.
faster than you.
Oh.
It's called
lied.
strategy, Boston.
Yeah.
It's called
I
strategy.
lied.
The guys
That's
are here
what
to
I
win.
know.
Chris,
Thank
you, sir.
Yep, no problem. I got you, buddy. All right. So now that we got that, now that we feel that we know you,
all lies.
all lies. I guess I got a question for both of you. Whoever answers first, it's cool. What was your first paranormal experience?
Robert.
Oh, you want me to do this? Okay. It was in. It's the first one that actually stuck with me. There may have been things prior, but in Cape May, New Jersey, I stayed at a bed and breakfast, not knowing it was haunted, not even caring if it was haunted. I mean, watched a couple shows at that point, but there's a place in Cape May called the Southern Mansion, and one night after a few nights there, and the person I was with was not loving the place. She was very, very uncomfortable there. She would, every time she took a shower, the light bulbs would blow out. It was pretty wild, but I wasn't experiencing anything. About halfway through the trip, I woke up for whatever reason, looked over towards that bathroom, and there was a woman standing there. So I jumped out of the bed and she was just gone. So wasn't quite sure about that. Next day we were downtown at a bookstore. There was a book called The Ghosts of Cape May. So I started thumbing through it, and there was the Southern Mansion. There was this ghost Esther that haunts this particular room that has 2 windows. I knew I had 2 windows because that's pretty much all I was looking at the whole time. And so I believe I met Esther that night, and had a couple days left there. It was pretty cool. We got interviewed by the staff on the way out. It was the first time I was like, oh my God, like what was that? So yeah.
Nice.
It's a great story.
How about you, Sarah?
I don't know if I can really recall a first experience. But I guess I can go back to maybe something that when I really what's the word I want to use? Maybe more organized wise, started to go into the paranormal, right? Might be probably an EVP. I mean, we were actively looking for it. I mean, maybe if I go back, I can think of some things, but I don't know. Like, that's really hard because it's not like I went to an amazing location like that. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of memories when I was a kid. So I can't really recall anything like that. But my first EVP, we were asking some questions, and we were actually talking about a star who had committed suicide. Because I think I have a book called Dead Celebrities. We were talking about it in my living room. We were just doing EVPs, and it had been hours of doing it. So we didn't realize you did EVPs for like a few minutes at a time. So we just had the tape running, and we were talking about this person, and you can hear us like talking, my sister and I talking. It's just us in the middle of the night talking about, right? Like, I wonder if he knows, and does, when you do that, blah, blah. And he didn't mean to, right? It was one of those having a moment with himself, and he killed himself. And you can hear something very close to the recorder, because we didn't have it by us, that says, yes, I know I'm dead. We were like, I'm sorry, what? So that may be like the first time that it was kind of like, okay, wait, right? Like some validation of what it was. I've kind of just always been around all my life, maybe, but it's hard to say.
For me, those are both really similar story. I think just the way you both described those moments, and the way that I kind of described my moment is like that moment, it could have been around before then, and I could have had experiences before then when I was younger. But that moment where you got hooked,
Yeah.
that was there that moment, and it sounds like those were your moments where it was like, okay, like I'm hooked, I'm into this now.
Yeah, it was for me. And listen, most people were kind of trained our whole lives growing up that it's all imaginary and it's your eyes or your mind playing tricks on you. So, people, we tend to kind of throw those things away. So who knows what happened prior to. There were certainly times that I was spooked or scared, especially as a kid going upstate New York to visit my family. My aunt had this little antique shop, and it was supposed to be haunted, and my dad would scare the crap out of me. But all of that just kind of got washed away with it's your imagination. So it's something that I always tell people now is you don't have to wash it all away for your kids. You don't have to dismiss everything. They still will, but I don't know if it's helpful or not.
But I want to add to something, Chris, you asked me here for the little game, which is, do I believe in fate? And my belief in fate and the things that happen, I sometimes wonder if I look back, if that was something that I believed in for so long that I didn't equate it to paranormal. I just equate it to fate. So I think this is where I'm coming after so many years in paranormal. I'm kind of coming into understanding, like, when I say something, if I say I don't have these experiences, I think it's because I view it very different. I don't view it in the paranormal sense. So that's where it's hard for me to answer some of that, because some of it I think was just meant to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely does. So Boston, what did you have to ask?
Well, my question kind of following up with that, it could be kind of the same question in a way, but I want to know, before Get Haunted, well, maybe I'm going to start with a different question. What is Get Haunted?
Oh, this is a Sara question. Listen.
What is, because I mean, I know what it is.
I know.
Chris knows what it is, but just maybe we should touch on that real quick. What is Get Haunted for anyone new watching who's not familiar with Get Haunted?
Do you want me to take this one, Rob?
Yes, please, because nobody does it as much justice as you do. So please take it.
All right. Get Haunted is this amazing paranormal events and services company who really, their mission is about you. It's all about the person that comes to investigate, to be the investigator, to experience. Get Haunted has amazing crew with great knowledge, experience, all different levels. So we encourage everybody. It doesn't matter. You can be zero experienced to hyper experienced in the ghost world. We want you to come in and join in on the investigation, to be the investigator. We really do pride ourselves on not having people follow us around, but be in it, be the center of it. And, we're learning from you as much as you're learning from us. And it really is about the paranormal community. It is about making sure everybody in the paranormal has a voice, has space, because, you guys, you're newer to paranormal, but in the world you were in, it's very exclusive. There are these cliques, and it can be very hard and intimidating for those that might be enthusiasts, or maybe maybe view paranormal very different. Get Haunted gives you the opportunity to come in and be yourself. It's safe space. We encourage you. We're excited to meet you. You'll make friends, but often you'll turn into family. You guys are a perfect example of that, because you are part of the Get Haunted family. And then outside of the events, which are very, very important, we also offer a lot of services. So if you're a team or an individual, merchandise, beautiful logos are created, intro videos, outros, stingers, anything that somebody might need some help with, great personalized equipment. I always say I'm going to bring that up when I'm going to be on a show, and I never do, never have it. It's all in my bag, but some great personalized equipment. But I think the most important thing, or really the simplest answer to Get Haunted, is, what is Get Haunted? It's you. It's just, it's you. It's about you. It's for you. It's with you. And we're just so happy to be able to share that space with everybody. So was that okay, Rob?
Oh, it was beautiful. Yeah.
I'm answering for him. Yes.
Yeah, no, she just does it beautifully, you know. And I'll just add, prior to you ever doing like public events, right? Same kind of story. So once I got interested, really interested in 2008, man, my dad lived with us. He was super sick. Was my daughter's best friend, his only granddaughter. She was 2 when he died, and just crazy stuff started happening in the house, right? And but most all around her, and she was playing with him, talking to him, all these fun things. But that's what, you know, after that Cape May incident, this is what got me really going. I have to explore. And going out there as myself, trying to get on teams, was next to impossible for whatever reason. It didn't matter who I reached out to. They were like, yeah, no, thanks. We got enough people. It certainly didn't feel inclusive. So I tried to form my own team, which I did, and it was okay. But, you know, everybody was kind of far away. We didn't get out much. Then I linked up and started doing public events and with another company. And the best part of it was, you know, once you get the hang of that, right? When you get these people, and most of the guests there were new to paranormal, just like with us. But watching these people get that for their first experience and then hearing them exhale, like they can't believe what they saw. For me, that's the biggest turn on to this whole thing. Like, I'm like, there it is. Like, they got their money's worth. Changed a lot of skeptics' minds at some of these places. And, you know, somebody walks out happy, smiling, maybe with a little bit more of an open mind, even if they're not, you know, full-on believers. For me, that's the most satisfying part of this, aside from meeting people like you two and the rest of the crew, because it truly is, you know, it's an honor to get to meet and work with so many great people.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are saying everything that we felt after we had our little trip, and we're like, this is what we want to do. Me and Boston live, you know, hours apart, so we were both searching for different groups to come. And Boston's been lucky to go on a handful since we've been back, but yeah, it was like pulling teeth to ask anybody just to tag along or join just for a night, you know, saying, hey, I'm new, I'm looking to get into this. And I get in touch with you two, and it's just like open arms, you know, and it's like, come on in. Yeah, this is going to be a great time. We're going here, here, and here. And I'm so thankful for that.
Of course.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. And it's also, and look, event companies also get a rep, right? As being kind of a money grab and just being a performance versus an actual investigation. And that is something that we are the total opposite of. It's hard to fight that sometimes, right? And, you know, yes, we charge money for tickets, but behind the scenes, people have no idea, right? They have no idea how much personal money that we have put into this thing and what it costs, right? 35 events out there. People can do the math. These places aren't cheap. You know, we roll big dice hoping that people will show up. And if we keep doing what we do as well as we do, that it's not a problem, right? Because for all the reasons that you two just talked about, we do. Our arms are wide open for the entire community, and we love everybody.
Yeah, and I want to just add too, like, I think the important part and what I've really truly loved, I got to meet Get Haunted through Paranormally Blonde. They were Bill and Tanya and Rob came on my show back in December of 2021, and as they were describing it, I started asking some questions. That's sort of where Rob and I made our connection. He was just like, okay, you're kind of asking all the right questions here, and I joined that night. I mean, I joined immediately. And, but the thing that I think I really, truly love, from the event part of it is this, we can't guarantee, no one can. So if any event company is promising you, I don't, the teams that do it, the actual companies that do it, if anybody is promising you, you're going to have this big paranormal experience, be very, very wary, because you can't promise something like that. We're so blessed when it does happen. So I think the important part is, though, what do you do with that when you're at an event? And I think this is where we really stand out as a company is you might not walk out, or you may, with a personal paranormal experience, but you will walk out with an experience, and you will walk out with some great memories. And, there are other companies out there, other teams out there where you kind of walk out and you're like, what did I just spend my money on? Like I didn't really get to do anything or talk to anybody. So, you'll see we do small events because we want to make them intimate and personal. And if somebody is standing off, that's not okay. Like, you can be shy, you can be a little unsure, but our crew is so amazing at making you become a part of it, because even if you've gotten nothing out of it, holding a piece of equipment, trying something that you might not have tried before, that's what you walk away with. And so, I think that's the standout to me. That's what I got from it. And it's why I want it to be a part of this. This is why I've given what I've given, because everything he said the mission was is absolutely 1,000% true. It's true.
And you'll probably get to see me make an ass of myself at some point throughout the night, at least once.
That's
and
also a bonus.
And if Sarah's there, she will make an ass out of me during the show. That I can promise.
That's right.
Well, I have to agree. So technically, I haven't been to a Get Haunted event yet. Technically.
No,
so I'm part of the crew now. I am so excited to go to my first event. But I did, fate, as you will, introduce me to Rob at the Conjuring House. So it was an event. We can talk as little or as much as we need to about that night, but he hadn't been back for quite some time to that location, and I just gravitated towards him. I had heard a little bit of his story on Andrea Perrone's podcast, and then I met him in person, and I just felt like I needed to go up to him and just say, like, you're going to be okay. I don't know you. I'm a stranger. You're going to be okay. Like, we have your back. These people are all good people here, even though I didn't know all of them, most of them. And afterwards, I ended up spending the night that night at the Conjuring House. It was my first overnight there. And I called Chris and just said, we got to get in touch with this guy. And it's kind of all history from there. And we fell in love with the whole family, everyone that we've met since. I did get to meet Kyle. I did get to meet Kyle that night as well. And I remember I don't know if I told Kyle this before or after, but I said, you remind me of my best friend, Chris, because you could just tell, Chris gives me a lot of shit, but he also made me feel very safe and very protected when we were going through these experiences together during our trip. And I really appreciated that. And I felt that from Kyle for Rob that night.
And those stories came back, by the way. Like, Rob mentioned you to me, and Kyle mentioned you to me. And I think that's the really unique thing, is that Get Haunted is I'm telling you right now, I believe what I've seen and what I've heard with my own ears is that so many of the guests that become friends and family truly touch their hearts. You leave marks on them, and they remember it, and they talk about it. So, I think that's the part. You aren't just a one and done for us, right? You don't come to an event and we're just like, all right, thanks, and then off to the next one. You know, you guys tend to be repeat guests that do become these amazing family members. But I promise you that the standouts are talked about, and it is a cool thing to witness. So just like you guys might talk about something, as do we.
I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard that before, so I'm trying not to blush, but that makes
No,
me
I
feel
did.
good. That makes me feel good.
Listen, it was hard for me to walk into that house after however, a year of struggling. And it had been about a year and a half, I think, at that point since I had been there. And that's where kind of Sara ties into all of this too. Not kind of, she does, but yeah, it was definitely hard walking in. And I remembered every second of it when you walked up and started talking to me, because I was on my way out because I was in maybe for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm like, I should go outside and just breathe, because it was a lot for me. And when you did that, it got to me. I think I cried. I probably cried.
A little bit.
A little bit of crying.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said you did.
Yeah.
You teared up. You choked up.
Yeah, it just touched me, because just how caring and genuine you were, and coming back to a place that kind of haunted me for quite a while, to have somebody that standing there saying those, it was just really nice. So yeah, that's how one of the reasons you got brought up. And then when we did get brought up, right, or when we did link up, you're like, hey, my best friend's in Michigan, and I'm like, all right, this is just too weird now. So yeah, so is mine. So let's talk.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it all played out. But yeah, going back that night was important. It brought. I don't think it was an accident. I believe that there are a lot of reasons to go. I had one particular mission to accomplish while I was there, and I did. Yeah, and then here we are talking today.
Well,
talks about that house. It might be a good time to.
Yeah, I was about to say, now Get Haunted has some events coming up there, don't they?
We do. We've got some amazing ones. Yeah.
So do you want to plug those real quick and talk about how somebody at home could actually get to go there?
Sure. Yes.
And we've had Danny and Kyle have been dropping links as the show's going on. So if you guys want to drop these links while they're talking, again, that would be great for anyone who can't scroll back far enough in chat. Thank you.
All right. I mean, do you want all our events or just Conjuring?
Well, let's just talk about Conjuring for a minute.
Okay. So I believe it's March 18th, right, Sara? Boss?
Yes. March
18th is
I have it in my notes.
our first event at the house. I don't like calling it the Conjuring House, but it's what everybody called it. So that's what we're calling it tonight. But March 18th is our first event there. I am limiting how many times I go. I'm still on the fence about popping in at least there, kind of similar to what I did in September, Boston, when we met. But that's our first event, March 18th, from 7 till probably 3:34 in the morning. Listen, there's nights people don't stay. They just don't want to stay the whole time. So, I get it. Trust me, the place can freak people out. But that's our first one. Then we have May 12th and 13th, I want to say. See, you guys know more than I do. Look, it's pretty Then we have May 12th and 13th. I believe I will be going on May 12th. We have a Paracon the next day, so I'm not, and I probably just don't want to do 2 nights in a row. Not because I'm afraid of the house, just because I limit my time there. When we were there, all of a sudden, like, some weird things happened, and especially at the end of the night, tables started moving. I'm like, okay, thank you, thanks for being nice. We're out of here. So we left. So May 12th and 13th will be the next 2 dates, and then we have a few more after that.
Awesome. Yeah, so go to gethaunted.com and you will find links to tickets. Get in on an event. Tickets are limited and worth every penny. You're going for an experience. You can't expect to see paranormal, but you are going to be able to hold the equipment, learn the equipment, and see how a real investigation's done. So make sure to go visit gethaunted.com.
And I just want to say one more. That was a great plug, man.
Thanks.
I just want to say one more thing about the you can't really expect to, you. And I appreciate that it's a genuine event company, so much more than an event company. But Get Haunted isn't going to guarantee you some kind of paranormal phenomenon at every event. Like you can't do that. You're not in control of that. But something that I can say just from a personal experience about all different kinds of investigations that I've gone on, and I haven't been on many yet, but I've gone to quite a few locations here, at least in my state, and down in Rhode Island. And if you go in with an open mind, and this sounds corny, and I'm sorry, but if you go in with an open mind and kind of an open spirit, I have felt a paranormal experience at every location I've been to. So I think that's a big part of it. I think if you are new to this world, or you're going on your first investigation, I think that you can almost guarantee yourself some kind of paranormal experience if it's not just like a feeling. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? It may not be an EVP, or it may not be something visual that you see, but there's something about energy. Feeling energy is something Chris and I both started picking up on pretty quickly and easily.
Yeah, because it was like I had told Boston, I'd always heard feeling the energy in a room, something like that. Everywhere I had gone before that, I guess I just never had. And then when we actually went to these places, it was like a smack in the face. Oh, this is what they're talking about.
Right. That's what they're talking about. And the Conjuring House specifically is one of those locations where you walk in that front door and
even the drive up sometimes for me, but yeah, that's the thing. Look, there have been quiet nights in the house. There are 12 nights probably total. There have been quiet nights, but there hasn't been a night where you didn't feel it, or it didn't tap me on the shoulder. It was like, hey, we're still here. It's a really, really interesting place. Probably one of the most haunted places on the planet, if you ask me, at least all the places I've been to. It's a different kind of place, right? And it's kind of the next level, and it's more about the energy there. Equipment doesn't really work well there. Why? Because it's that next level of spirituality, of paranormal, whatever you want to put a title on it as. It's different. It's a different place.
Awesome. So
100%.
Talking about equipment and that, we have some evidence from both of you that you've shared that I would love to kind of look over and talk about.
So for those that know me on the side, a lot of you don't, but for those that do are probably going, wait, what? Sarah has evidence? I do.
She does. And it's pretty cool. We looked over these the other night, and
so let's start with Sarah's then.
Oh, well.
As we are talking
because it'll be quick. It will be quick.
So we have two different pictures. One has filtered a little bit to it. So let's look at the original.
The original is hashtag no filter.
Yeah, right. Hashtag. That is totally no filter.
The cool kids say, yeah.
So you want to describe to us what's going on?
So I'll just set up the night. This is my house. I am not a believer in you should never investigate your house. I am a 1,000% believer that if paranormal is out there, whether or not you investigate your house, you're open to it. So I will investigate my house all day long. My sister was in town. This is a back room. It's a solarium, so it's all glass except for these two doors. They're like a French door situation. That's the lights on the bottom there. That's a REM pod. We have the grid going. We had watched a scary movie. We were just kind of dicking around. There was no real seriousness to what we were doing. My house is about 100 years old. So after the movie, we got out the equipment, we set it up. A girlfriend of mine was over, and that's a corner. So this solarium is not original to the house. That would have been the back end of the house. So there's brick going into the garage, and then the rest has been glassed off. I don't know if I don't know. I mean, it's an old house. I've heard some stories. I know the original, know the story of the original owner. Anyways, we set up that REM pod. It's on a pedestal table. And I believe in front of it is like a ceramic owl. So he's kind of shiny, but that's it. That's the REM pod is on some books, and then the owl. There's nothing else on there. So we're sitting with our back to the REM pod, and it hadn't gone off. And I hate REM pods for this reason. I feel like they never go off. And then when they do go off, they won't shut up. So I'm not a huge fan of them. But it wasn't going off. And all of a sudden it started to kind of go off, and it was going off in patterns. So then I said to my sister, I'm like, oh my God, well, I'll snap some pictures off. And that was a picture I took. Didn't really see anything when I first took it, but my sister then came by and stood next to me and took the same picture. And we both captured the same thing. As we were trying to figure out why that was going off and we were asking questions, and I maybe playing with the ghost app. I don't remember, which I don't take for serious, but for funsies. As I was looking at the picture, I'm like, wait a minute, like what is that? That's sort of, it's not above the REM pod, but it's above the REM pod and behind by the doors. And we looked at my sister's picture, and sure enough, she's got the same thing. So I don't know what people see there. I can't figure it out, but to me, that is something. That's not like well, I think it's pareidolia. It's not to me. That is something.
Yeah, it looks like his like tentacles.
Well, yeah, right. Like he kind of has this weird. Well, of course, my sister went right to the Baphomet. She's like, "Yeah, it looks like the Baphomet." So,
I was going to say horns. Yeah.
That's sort of. I do a lot of sound therapy in the house. I have a gentleman, John, who does come here, and that's the corner he sits in and does crystal bowls. And he used to, when he would do the bowls, constantly look over his shoulder and say, "Somebody's here." He saw this picture and sort of went, and now I'm looking at it. I see two things now. So the little guy in the front, he feels it's more of a tribal thing. He feels whatever that is on the head is, and I don't know, I'm, right on Lake St. Clair, there were plenty of, French Indian wars that went on right here. But now I'm just going to say to my left, I see a full face looking at me, and I don't know. Yes. I've never noticed that before. Yeah. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I saw it when we were looking at the pictures on my phone. I was like, yeah, that looks like a person standing there.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know what those two things are, but when I share these pictures, and it's probably why I've been kind of reluctant. I when I share things like this, I get a lot of that. I had more than not people have claimed that's a plant. That they're like, that's a plant. It's like, there were no plants. That's hovering above a REM pod. You can see the door behind it. And I feel like whatever those things are, feathers, horns, whatever those are, the way the way it lays or the way it sort of shows against the door is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Right. To me, that doesn't look like pareidolia, but I don't know. I mean, I showed them to you, Rob. I don't know what your feeling was when you first saw them.
Well, we talked about it for a while. Yeah. And now when I'm looking, the thing in the middle to me almost looks like a profile of a head now that I'm looking at it.
Okay.
As if somebody's looking off to the right of the photo.
Oh, I see it now too. Oh, okay. Yep. But what do you think these things are?
Who the hell knows? But I have also seen, you guys know, Old Hospital on College Hill, tentacle like, and I wasn't the only one that witnessed it, but these tentacles that came into this room before this mask came in, not that different from what I'm looking at right now. They were just longer.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's in my house. I'm still alive. I'm here talking to everybody on an interview. Are there weird things that happen? Perhaps, but that stuff for me, I've spent, I've fallen asleep back there. I've spent, I've slept back there. If I haven't felt good, I'll go in the back room and hang out and watch TV. It never freaks me out.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I think if it's there, I can't send it to the light. I can't send it to hell.
Right.
I can't, he's there, I'm here, whatever, we
It's
coexist.
just gonna have to get
Coexist.
along.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. So this next one creeped me out. This isn't. Yeah, I'll just put it up there.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Rob, do you
I just
want to
got chills again.
explain what we're looking at here?
Yeah, this was one of my early ghost hunts. It's at a place called Kreischer Mansion in Staten Island, New York. It's an old mansion. There were actually two identical mansions built. It's a long story. One burnt down, the other one didn't. Two brothers lived in these two different mansions. Anyway, over the years, it's New York, Staten Island. There's mafia ties there. There was a murder. And they tried to kill this guy out front, drown him in a pool in the fountain. He didn't die, so they dragged him into the house. This is in the basement next to the furnace. At the time, you couldn't even walk over there because there was no floor. But I swear, and I had this little modified like GoPro, like full spectrum camera. I was swearing I was seeing something back there. So I started snapping away, and this dude popped up in one of the photos. And to me, it looks like an arm and a hand, and I see a face.
Definitely.
Yeah, so they cut this guy up down there and burned him in that furnace. So if that's him, I don't know, but whatever that is, it did. It gave me the chills when I first saw it too.
Rob, are you a big believer on the take 3 pictures, or it's not really a ghost?
Oh yeah, I mean, I am, but look, like even if this was only one, look, there's no way. Here's why, right? We're doing this right now publicly. Would it be great if there was a before and after? Yeah. For me personally, I don't think I need that second or third photo. But in a lot of cases, it has helped kind of make my case. People are going to choose to believe it or not. That's fine.
Right.
But for capturing evidence, if you're gonna put it out there, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, I'd never heard that saying before. So the advice is to take like 3 in a row.
Yeah,
so that you have
snap off 3 in a row,
Yeah.
right where you are.
And that's what I do that anyway. The problem is always like, oh shit, then I delete.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or something deletes.
Yep. Yeah, that photo was a good one. That one was one of my favorites.
Yeah. To me, it looked almost like extraterrestrial. It didn't.
Yeah.
Was that the dude that I said was you? Is that when I said that's you, Rob?
You said it has a claw.
Yeah, that's that one. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
But it looked when I first saw it, I just got a vibe of like this hunched over, like, I don't know, extraterrestrial being.
Yeah.
Don't know what he is.
Yeah.
So we also have some EVPs that you provided. Now, are these from Conjuring? Okay. Let me play those, and I'll play them a couple of times. I'll play it once, we can talk about it, and then I'll play it again for everybody to listen to. Do you got a preference on which one I play first? All right.
You know what plays the clap game?
Wow. You hear that clap at the end, right when he says it.
That was
And the "Am I Dreaming" is so perfect.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And now, so here's the backstory there. Hey, that was my last night ever in that house. That's when things just happened, right? So it was giving me all this evidence, and I have so many EVPs from that house that are just absolutely incredible. but that was it. I had asked for the clap game for months, and it gave it to me. The I am dreaming piece, right? It wasn't there. After I had my issues there, I kind of went home. I took all these EVPs, put them on the computer, and never listened to them again. Once I got linked up with Andrea and was going to do her show, and I called Sara. I'm like, should I do this? And she's like, yeah, well, Andrea wanted some evidence. And so I went back and I started listening again. And now I had never heard the I am dreaming part. And some of these other EVPs that I found. So they were buried so deep in the audio. It's absolutely crazy. That house yields amazing, like some of the most incredible EVPs you'll ever hear. Some I'll never release, some I have released, but that one's special to me. It was my last night there, and the next morning was pretty intense for me. And maybe that's why. I don't know.
Well, I'll play it one more time just in case anybody missed it.
You know what plays the clap game?
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So people's faces there, when I started playing that back, people were just, when their jaws hit the floor. And Boston, you heard a great one that night too, when we were there in September down in the basement. Yeah, I mean, that EVP, since meeting Sara and Dee Dee and Paranormally Blonde, and, one of Dee Dee's theories about maybe these dream states are, or how we're connecting or communicating with them. I had sent that over to Dee Dee, as kind of maybe some validation to that. It's really an interesting mix there, because that voice is much different. The am I dreaming or I am dreaming part, much different than the rest of it. It's just odd. Something connected somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to talk to Dee Dee about that more too, because I've felt that since before I even got into paranormal. Yeah. And I was more into just metaphysics in general and dreaming, and now I feel a total connection between the two. Yeah. So yeah, I heard, we all heard, but I think I was one of the first. I was like, oh, Kyle. And you all looked at me and you were like, you heard it said Kyle? I was like, yeah, Kyle. That's when I thought I had some kind of super hearing abilities.
Yeah, that's crazy clear. Crazy clear. Yeah. Yep.
Let's take a look at this next one. I hate knock knock.
Yeah, that one gave me chill. It still does. I remember the night exactly. Like I remember every detail of that night. We were sitting in the library there, and for whatever reason, I was compelled to do a knock knock joke. Just out of nowhere, I'm like, let me do a knock knock, and they don't like the knock knock. Yeah, T-Bell, it gave me a bad feeling that night too. In fact, so it was interesting to get these kind of really, really intelligent responses, and then to watch everybody react to it it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Let's do one more time of that one for anyone. Every time, yeah. So when me and Boston visited there, we had a few things. Not a lot was actually captured, but we do have this clip. It's a little long. It's about 2.5 minutes. I can't really fast forward it how I have it playing, but we did catch a door opening twice.
Nice.
So I'm going to play that real quick.
I don't believe in premonitions or anything like that, but I had dinner one night at the top floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Yeah.
What?
You hear that?
What? 11:04 and 11:08.
You,
And when I was
that door just
Yeah.
opened on its own. Yeah, because it was shut a second ago, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
had this overwhelming feeling of the horror of what it would be like to be trapped.
Do you want me to shut it again?
Yeah, please. You guys can come in.
This was
We're not claiming the room for ourselves.
No, you're good.
so, I've never believed in premonitions, but how do I explain that?
There's no explaining. That's the thing, there's something you just can't explain, you just have to experience it to understand. We were actually filming in when I was
Yeah.
sitting in the back.
Somebody's in there, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah, but they didn't touch it.
We started going there, there was a lot of spirit there. It was hosting, and I was doing Estes method and just started sobbing uncontrollably. I wasn't scared, I just really reached. And the more we communicated, the answers were there. Mother had lost her child.
Oh, there it goes.
There wasn't.
I love the girl running. The door opens. She's like, nope.
She's like,
I'm
nope,
away.
see you later.
Get out of here.
And then someone's ringtone starts playing.
And
She's
all
alright.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see in the chat on the sides there, it's pretty common there. I've had both of those doors open and try to close on me one night. So it kind of pulled out the whole, is it swinging by gravity thing. When they started closing, those doors can open and close. It's pretty common there, and that's a great capture. And yes, the girl running away is my favorite part.
Yeah. She's like, see you later.
Yeah.
So the next thing I have is actually a combination, because it's weird. We got two different photos taken from two different people, and yet the outcome is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about the face distortions that took place at that house. First, here's one I took of Boston. And I know it's a little small, but if you look right above the light, you can see an exaggerated, like, gaping open mouth, which doesn't even place where Boston's head technically should be. It's like right in
shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we always kept that like kind of quiet with us, and was like, wow, what is that? And then Rob, you sent me this picture.
Sorry, everyone.
So yeah, what happened there?
I don't know what happened. What I know is it's my very first day ever in that house. That was in March of 2021. 21, whatever year it was. That was my very first day. I was walking into the middle bedroom, which, if you know the history of that house, the middle bedroom was probably the worst one to be in, if the stories are all true. But as I was crossing the threshold, I felt something. The woman I was with got her butt hit. Just a minute before this happened, as I was trying to cross the threshold into the next bedroom, I felt the back of my jacket get pulled back as if I wasn't supposed to leave that room. She was snapping pictures. This happened to be one of them. Never saw it. She had texted it over to me. And it wasn't until long after I started having some weird things happen that I was clearing out my phone and found this. So if we take this photo and you take Boston's photo, and I know that, the documentary Sleepless Unrest, they had very similar things happen with facial distortions when they filmed at the house as well. So it appears to be a thing there. That photo is not fun to look at, especially when it's yourself. And my theories on it have changed over time, but it's something. it's something. It's either a really bad photo or something really frigging weird. So,
Yeah.
or both.
It's not fun to look at. It is easier for me to look at your photo than to look at the photo of myself, which is interesting.
Yeah, you know, tonight I'm looking at yours. I see something very different than I saw the other night when I was looking at my phone. So, yeah,
interesting.
We'll talk.
So let's go to this one. Now, this one we're not going to keep up for too long. I will bring it back because after we started dissecting this one, we all saw many different things in this picture. And I have highlighted certain things. So as we talk about those, I will bring up that picture with the highlighted. But to start, I'll start with the original, and Rob, I'll let you explain what we're seeing.
Yeah. So, and this might be hard to see for people at home, and without having familiarity of this photo, but I was sitting up on, again, you know, that photo's looking into the middle bedroom. I was seeing something back there, and I'm like, and I was for a bunch of reasons up there, kind of just sitting on the floor by myself. So I started snapping photos like we were just talking about. And this appears in one of those photos. Again, I didn't look at this until much later, but I see this figure sitting. And when you play around with this photo and enhance it, all kinds of weird things start popping out. But I see a figure sitting, and when, you know, Sara first took a look at it, and I haven't shared this with anybody. You know, Sara started seeing things in there too, and this photo changes. It's odd. It just changes. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that photo.
I think, and I want to add to that. So, you know, I have never been to the Conjuring house. I've never had a desire or interest to be at that location. So, you know, Conjuring house is a little bit the reason why I think, you know, Rob and I sort of continued our relationship, right? Like, we had met on the show. I worked, you know, I would ask for things, or we would talk through Get Haunted, not a big deal, but he had reached out to me about this particular location. And as he discussed more things that had happened, I don't watch the movies. I don't do any research on it. When I tell you, it's just not one of those locations for me. You can believe it or not. But he showed me that picture. And I think what was interesting for me was he didn't say anything. He just said, what do you see? And I remember looking at that. I feel like we went back and forth on Messenger for a while, like a couple hours, maybe, like we were talking about it. And I was saying what I was seeing. And he's like, what did you just say? Like, things that I wouldn't know about the location. No. So this picture to me is very intriguing, because I think things that come up, this picture tells a story, and it changes its story. It gives you more each time you look at it, in my opinion. And I'm not like, I have no skin in the game here. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. And I'll add to that after we look at the whatever Chris has done.
Let's see what, we'll start with this one here. So the area that I circled there, what's everybody's opinion on that?
You're asking us. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it still hasn't changed for me. I see clear as day a young boy crouched, kind of squatting down. His head is, put your cursor up in that red triangle. You can see the side of his face. Right there. Yep, that's his head staring straight ahead of us. These are his shoulders, and then he's kind of just squatting, and he's got his arm, like, with his legs apart and his arms resting on his legs.
Oh, I see
wearing
that.
Some kind of, yeah, that's what I've seen since you showed this the other night, and I can't not see it any other way. You can see his hair kind of reflecting. Yep. Yeah. And Chris, you still don't see that, Chris? Because Chris...
No, I see it when you explain it to me. I just feel the proportions aren't right. So I have a hard time when I'm looking at it not
I don't
zoomed
see
in.
it. I don't see it.
The dog is what I see.
That's what I see. I see a dog.
That's what I've said from, Sarah kind of pointed the dog out to me. And as soon as she did, I saw it. And if you play with the lighting on this, sometimes you can see some crazy dog features. It's a creepy photo, no matter how you look at it. But Boston, I can see what you're seeing too.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
He would be
there,
with his arms out like this.
Shoulders. Yeah.
I see it. That's why I say this photo is odd. It changes. Yeah, Lori, you'll see. You'll see if Chris pulls it up.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, that's coming.
All right.
Can you zoom in a little?
Yep, I will.
So this is for me the part that was the freakiest. Yeah.
Want me to zoom in more? Or?
No, I think that's close enough, because I think what they're going to miss is the effect. There is, once I sent this over to Sara and she was like, "Oh, yeah." So there's somebody sitting, and I can see it. And zoom out for a second, Chris. Nevermore. Should have asked about that.
They all know me.
Legs sitting. I can see her hands. I want to say it's a her. There's times she looks like a hooded figure, or I can't tell if that's just hair, with something across the lap, like a stick or a staff or something. It's what I see. I think that's what Sara saw and still sees.
But for me, she stood out immediately, first and foremost. She is sitting in her chair, long skirt. It does appear she's kind of got her arm on top of something that is hanging off her lap. But she's what changes. And this is where I started to say, and I got sort of weirdly obsessed. And I remember, Rob, you were like, could you just delete that? Like, he had sent it to me and he's like, can you delete it, please? And I did. I hand to God, I deleted the picture because you do get strangely obsessed with looking at it. But she changed, and I would tell him things that she would be adorned with that he's like, what'd you say? Why are you saying that? It's like, I don't know. Like, this is just what I'm seeing. And it was weird how, and there's a theory out there, actually Dr. Chris Sumner and I had talked about this, and it's a question that some paranormal people do ask and wonder about this theory. When a picture is taken in time, how they change, and what does that mean? What is happening in those pictures, and why do they change? It's hard to say, but she does. She will show you, in my opinion, it's like she's giving you the two sides of her. She's going to let you know there are two specific sides. That's how I took it.
Yeah, it was it's a creep show photo for sure.
Let me share this one. So I see a person there. I see a woman turning her face sideways. Like, there it is right there. Neck, probably shoulders sideways. I'm not sure if that's something sitting on the shadow figure's neck or her arm reaching out. But that's what I'm seeing.
Zoom out a hair so people can see what we're talking about.
So I discovered him the other night. For me, as soon as you shared this picture with Boston and Chris and we were looking at them together, I was like, who the hell is he? And he, to me, stands out. He has more light in him. I feel like he comes through a lot more than she does. I definitely see an older gentleman. If I could sit with a sketch artist, I will say it right here. I feel I could describe him perfectly. And I feel like he has on one of those old-fashioned bibs that gentlemen used to wear, right? Or that Westerny bib
right
sort
here.
of situation. And he is sort of sitting, and he's kind of got his hand towards her. Almost like he's like kneeling, but he's looking. My vibe of the picture is that he was definitely watching Rob take the picture. So, but he jumped out. I don't think I ever mentioned him before, Rob.
No.
Does he have a beard? He has a long white beard.
Yeah, I
That's what
just
it is.
I see a really like drawn out face. I don't know if it's a beard, but his ears are large, and he has on his left cheek a very odd, I don't know if it's a scar or a folding of his face. Maybe it's his cheekbone and the way his face is sunken in. I can't explain why I'm saying all this, but that is what I see. I could describe it if I needed to a sketch artist.
I can explain it, and I will just for a minute.
Sorry, I just got really bad shit.
I'm sorry.
I hadn't
okay,
seen
did he
that.
pass out?
I hadn't seen that face before.
Yeah. So listen, back in February of last year, I reached Sara about a hoodie off of Get Home, and she wasn't part of this yet. And I was struggling bad with a lot of things that I thought were related to the house directly. And I don't know, it's this little voice in my head, and we didn't know each other. Like, we did not know each other. But I was kind of at the end of a rope. I was in a deep hole. But this little voice in my head said, just message her and ask her what she thinks. So I did. I sent Sara a message, and I'm like, hey, did I ever tell you my Conjuring House story? And she's like, no. And I did. She asked me to. So I did. And she doesn't remember a lot of this because she does. She just doesn't sometimes. But what she did that night, and it took hours, she connected these things, all these big experiences I had at the house, to some things in my life, over all of my years. She doesn't remember this, but she knows she knew things. She just knew things, and in a crazy way pulled me out of that hole in just a couple hours and gave me a new perspective on what was happening to me. And it wasn't all evil or bad. It was that house took my life and the baggage that I had and threw it out on the table and forced me to kind of get through some things that were holding me back. And Sara handed me that gift that night. So it's how we're
Connected.
sitting here today. Yeah.
Nice. And 100% of our people have yes on there. And I know that some also say they see more than just what we're talking about.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And if we did this tomorrow, there'd probably be more.
Different. Yeah.
It's why I told you. Go ahead, Sara.
What's interesting, if you caught Paranormally One yesterday, we did have Justin Bramford on, and he has a very interesting and unique way of sort of explaining what all genre of paranormal truly is, which is it is our perception, which we all talk about. We all perceive things very differently, but I think it is how things do show to us. So I think as I've grown in paranormal, and I've been doing this for 25 years, in the beginning, I think we get really stuck on sort of, especially with so much TV and YouTube, you can really sort of, you could find a theory you really love, and you can really get sort of tunnel visioned on it. And the reality is, the more you do it, and you sort of start to throw those things out because they just don't feel right anymore. Because, and I'm sure Rob would agree, every experience, and for you guys, every experience you have, it's a whole different experience. And I, again, going back to the fake question, I think so much of that is showing us what we need to sort of conquer or look at. And so, be it a mirror or something to show us. So everybody's seeing something different there. There is probably a reason why they see what they see. And we can't say it's not there because it's not for us to know. It's not our message.
Right. So take our face photos, Boston, right? Is that the devil coming out of us? Or is that something that's buried deep inside of us that's trying to come out? And that's kind of how I look at it now.
So, Sara, you talked about your live yesterday on Paranormally Blonde, where you talked about UFOs and all that. I feel like this right here, to me, looks like some form. Like it looks like he has long fingers stretching.
Mhm.
Like that's what I see. Like I see alien rather
Mhm.
than paranormal
Mhm.
when I look at this.
Just so much weird shit in this.
Yeah. So the Conjuring house, I believe
Mhm.
100%. And I really liked what your guest said on your live. Sorry, I'm like, ooh. I really liked what your guest said on your live yesterday on Paranormally Blonde, because I really agree. I think that we spend a lot of time just kind of labeling
Mhm.
like a ghost
Mhm.
is somebody who dies, and now their
Mhm.
spirit
Mhm.
haunts where they died,
Mhm.
and an alien comes down in a spaceship and they're like green and they have
Yeah.
big eyes. We need to get rid of all that and just look at it as a whole. And
Mhm.
I really agree with that perspective. The Conjuring house, I felt and experienced lots of things that I
Mhm.
wouldn't say were human.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
don't know what that means. I don't know if that means.
But you know what's interesting? Now that I'm thinking, because I don't, so I'm not a psychic medium. I would never label myself that. I do not remember the questions. Rob says he has those questions that I've asked. I do not remember them. He has not shared them with me. Again, I've asked a couple times and he's like, no. I don't think it was for me to know. But I think the interesting part, and now I'm kind of putting this together after Justin's talk last night, and now talking through this with you guys and spending that time with you guys the other night going through these photos, you know, there are messages there for each of us to look at. And you know, when you sort of stop looking at it and saying, what's that ghost? Because his whole thing was, instead of saying it's not about the evidence, and yes, as investigators, it's what we love to capture, right? It's about asking the questions. It's getting the questions. You don't have the final answer, but ask all those questions with every investigation, and you might start to piece some similarities and commonalities and get you closer to an answer, right? But I think we walk out of these so quickly. And you know, again, knowing Rob's story with the Conjuring house, he was having a hard time and he knows what he experienced, but he was sort of stuck on the experience and the evidence he got. But when he started to tear away and the questions were asked and he spent time on those questions, Rob, tell me if I'm wrong, I feel you got more answers.
Oh my God. No, it changed. It changed my whole life. And how I view the paranormal and how I viewed those experiences, right? It was, after Sarah asked me all these questions, like, because I kept a notebook of my experiences, and she's asking a question and she's like, hey, did this ever happen to you in your life? If it was Sarah, whoever the hell I was talking to that day, has this ever happened? And I'm like, yeah, that has. And then we got through this whole list of questions, and at the end, the last thing she said was, she said, well, did you ever stop and wonder if those demons were yours? They belong to you. That hit me in a really weird way. And we stopped talking, like, thank you, great night. And I was sitting there, I'm
See you
like,
later.
yeah, I got my notebook out, and I'm like, oh my God, like, this experience, I could draw a line right to something that happened in my life.
Mhm.
And there were clues that this house gave me in a lot of different ways that validated, oh shit, like, this is directly tied to that. I hadn't thought about one of these things in 45 years, guys, like, for real.
Yeah.
But there it was. And once I looked at the answers that were given to me and tied it back, I was like, oh, and I hadn't let that go. And I hadn't. It's one of them I talked to Sarah about. There were things that I hadn't healed from, I hadn't gotten past in my life. Yeah, I thought it was, but it was locked away somewhere in the back of my head.
Mhm.
This house knew it.
Well, I think that's where when people go to I would assume, again, not having been there, but this is the part, and Rob, you know, you've been very raw and honest about your experience there. And, you know, just what you said, we can all think we heal stuff. And the reality is we sweep everything under the rug. And I know you have said, and again, because I don't remember the questions, but you would say I was very age specific. You would say, I would ask a question and say, did this happen at this age?
Yeah.
So, you know, when we go into these investigations, you'll hear this a lot. Like, we're big proponents of this. Don't go to an investigation if you just had a fight with your bestie or your spouse or somebody or your kids. Don't really, you don't want to go with that mindset. But the reality is, for me, again, with the fate thing, paranormal is not about a story that sort of latches onto a location and we just as investigators keep validating it. It truly is about walking in, and what needs to be shown to you is shown to you, and only for you, right? So if you walk out, you know, Boston, you said you get very personal experiences, even if it's feeling energy, right? There, ask yourself, as somebody that likes to practice Buddhism, you know, ask yourself, why is this irritating me? A lot of times it's you. It's not the person you're putting it on. So think of that same sort of practice with the paranormal. Why is this making me freaked out? What do I need to face right now in this moment? You know, maybe it's why some people see a lot of shadow people. Maybe, I don't know what the tentacle thing is. I mean, it would be interesting to get those experiences from people, but to ask those bigger questions. What's going on in your life? You don't have to be honest with me. And I've told Rob that a million times. You don't have to be honest with me, but you have to be honest with yourself.
Right.
You have to when you go into, and especially it sounds like the Conjuring house. Don't walk in there thinking, and I think Rob is perfect proof. Don't go in there thinking you're hiding shit from them, right?
You know, the fact that you say that, because I've told you both my story, that when I was there in that basement, listening to those headphones, it was reading everything, every thought I had in my head and questioning me on everything.
Yeah.
And mimicking, mimicking the experiences that we had at other locations earlier that week.
Oh, yeah. It's an amplifier. I'm telling you, it's an amplifier of feelings, of emotions, of thoughts. Even it's interesting. Now, I'm not saying that places aren't classically haunted, right? I'm saying this place is pretty magical, and you know, it's why some people can go in there and be like, I could live here for 100 years, and and those. And one of them was on the side earlier, you know, very grounded guy who really has his shit together. I thought I was that until I found out I wasn't. So there it was, you know, and it wasn't even just prior things. There were current things in my life that needed fixing at the time, that really needed fixing. And that house let me know it was time. It was time. It was just time to fix things. So
I feel like I need to know.
Yeah.
We've talked about that plenty of times. The need and want words, but
I want to show one last picture real quick before we start wrapping all this up and doing a few plugs and saying goodnight. But this was one thing I found when I was highlighting all this stuff in that same picture at the top.
Oh, great.
Yeah. a new thing for us to.
Okay.
Why don't you tell me about that?
What? It's funner to do this live.
I don't know. Is it coming from the ceiling?
Yes. I'm trying to get it over. But yeah, it's a mist almost coming from the ceiling.
You know what's interesting about this, Chris, is when you're practicing Reiki, and especially when you're in the stages of really sort of hyper focusing on energy work, there are different in Reiki, there are different shapes that they use to sort of signify certain energies. And one of them I remember when I was getting my final attunement, when I was becoming master, all I could see were those almost similar things coming out of my ceiling in the room that we had done all the work in. So it's an,
Wow.
and that's where I think a lot of this stuff, again, Justin just sort of wrapped it all up for me in a nice little package last night, but it's like, there really isn't a difference in these experiences, be it alien, UFO, spirit, right? Encrypted, like all this stuff. I think it is one and the same. It's just how it presents. And it does start to make you wonder, like, we think we're wrangling them. We think we're going in here and you owe us something. And I truly believe that they are here to. Now, that doesn't mean that there probably isn't something that is inhuman there that's doing weird things. I don't know. I don't have those answers, but I feel that these are more lessons than they are harmful.
I think you're right. And that brought me right back to the very first conversation I had with Andrea, where she said something. She said, don't be afraid. They present to you the only way they know how to. Because there were some things I saw with my eyes in the house that really got me spooked. And that makes perfect sense. And it kind of lines up with what you just said, Sarah. Is like, if they don't know how else to present, or if that's how we think they should present, maybe that's how they present. Who knows?
Yeah. Are they presenting that way, or are we forcing that on them?
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's been awesome having both of you here. I've enjoyed this conversation so much, and I love the stuff that you provided for us to talk about. I want to just put up this real quick for those, just where would you like to investigate if the audience wants to type in one of those. We'd love to hear the places that you would be interested in going. And let's plug some stuff real quick, guys. Like Sarah, we haven't even talked about Paranormally Blonde. What
I know.
Tell us about it a little bit and how people can find you.
Yeah, so you know what? Just head on over to YouTube at Paranormally Blonde. It is a live show. We have a very similar and sort of a coexistent mission with Get Haunted. We are about hearing all voices in paranormal. We have had, that celeb term used with some of our guests, all the way down to a kid who lived with his father and loved dowsing rods, and he gave us a little live investigation in his basement because his voice is just as important as somebody that's been on television. We want to hear it all. We want to hear all the experiences. We want to know every corner of paranormal. So we offer that safe space for you to come on to our show. There is no criteria, just that you love paranormal in some form. Even if you love to hate it, we want to hear from you. You're still part of the community. So yeah, you can find us there. And then of course, social media is Instagram and Facebook, and we are on Twitter. I don't know how much we do on Twitter. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think people are mean there. So I don't really spend too much time there. But YouTube for sure, come and be a part of our circle. You will see the Get Haunted family right there on the side supporting us. They're awesome. Rob usually provides us with the pre-show, the first half an hour, 6:30 to 7. He'll be on the side telling some amazing jokes along with Kyle, Danny, and Terry will show up. We always have a great time. So yeah, that's Paranormally Blonde.
Yeah. And let me add, and yes, I do stupid dad jokes for a half hour, but listen, I hate podcasts. I just do. And I didn't even want to do Paranormally Blonde back in 2021, but I'll tell you what, they're two of the best hosts you will find out there. You guys are pretty damn good too. But their approach and just the whole style of it just appeals to me. It's why I don't think I may have missed one episode since then. Maybe I don't even know. Maybe. It really is a good show, an amazing show, and I think it shows up every single time someone gets on there. They're like, "Damn, this is a good show." So if you haven't subbed, go sub, because it's worth every second of it.
It's a coffee talk. I always say it's like internet dating. Like, we'll find you on the internet, right? We'll be like, "Who's this?" And I go in cold. I don't know anything about the person usually. so I don't like to know. If you've seen my interview with Steve Stockton, that is the one interview I prepared for, and I sucked ass at it. It was horrible. It's like a fourth grader doing a book report. So that will never happen again. But I like to go in cold. So it's like an internet date, and you meet them for coffee, and you're like, hey, do we jive?
I like
and
that.
most times we jive. So yeah, it is a casual. I don't have typical questions. I try not to, because I think when you start talking, and Boston and Chris, I feel like this happens, you guys just got a little taste on the side of how the four of us talk. We have some amazing, deep conversations. We have shared some really profound experiences in our life together. And that's the realness. That's the coolness, I think, of just being able to jive with people like that. So yeah, if you guys could have a sneak peek, we almost have to have that, like where they can just have a sneak peek of us talking.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like we've had a little bit of that already.
We did. No, we totally did tonight. Right? We totally did. But it's an interesting, and that's the thing that I love about our show, is that, you just, that one thing somebody says, and Dee Dee and I are very different. So you ask that just question that you yourself are so interested in. And it sometimes gets people veering off in a different direction. Like, I never thought of that before. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's cool. It's a fun time. So
it is.
Well, they'll be able to see how we all interact together in April, right? April 22nd?
April 22nd.
Yes.
All right.
Well, they're going to see you guys, though.
They're going to see us and Dee Dee.
Yes, January 30th, guys. Head on over to Paranormally Blonde on YouTube, because we do have the fabulous Chris and Boston as guests. This is going to be this is going to be a different type of interview for me, because I do know them. I won't put them through a grueling game of answer these questions in 2 minutes.
That was fun.
We were going to put tense music on it. You're lucky.
Yeah. There's going to be like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll just, maybe I'll try to think of some unique things that I can ask, see what I can pull out of you guys. But come check us out. Come see them as the guest. So I'm kind of excited doing a little show swap here. That's the fun part of this. So,
right. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Tune in next Tuesday when we got some more fun games in store. And everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.